Boris has announced that he is scrapping Plan B, which the measures include forced mask mandates on public transport and restaurants and shops, etc., etc. He's also removing the requirement of a vaccine passport, which is interesting. And he's also talking about just removing this stay-at-home for work legislation as well, which I find interesting because the one thing that we have been campaigning as well about is, of course, the national health sector, and that's, of course, the workers and the care workers that are being forced to take a vaccine, and if you do not comply with that, you lose your job. So there's nothing about removing that, unfortunately. I mean, not to, of course, dampen it down. I think it's great news. I think it's a small bit of good news. But how I see it, I don't know if you know much about what's been going on with Boris, but he's been losing a lot of Tories in his cabinet recently. They revolted against the vaccine passports, where a lot of his backbenchers went against him and voted to be against a lot of the measures that he's put in place. And because he's lost a lot of votes of confidence in the polls, it seems as though that this has been pushed out as to try and win back his backbenchers almost. So I don't know, you can take that in one of two ways. You can take it as it's a form of desperation, that, you can see him slipping in the polls. You can see he's not doing very well. He's not got the public on his side almost. And it's sort of an act to sort of get everyone together again and try and unite his party, because we've had some defectors. A lot of people are planning to defect as well. Sources have told me, apparently, but take that as you will. And I don't know. I think it's a kind of act of a little celebration, but there's still lots of work to be done.
Two questions for you, Lewis, then I'll turn it over to Matt Brevner here. First of all, what kind of numbers are you talking about when you say some of the backbenchers turned on him? How many people, how many seats do they have versus how many people who are voting against this? And then my second question is, why do you think he's doing it? Is it just because, the polls are turning on him, his political partners are turning on him? Or do you think it's, some sort of different plan where you're just going to end up being locked down again?
Sure. So firstly, with the vaccine passports, when the vote came through in December time, Boris had a vote where 126 Tory voters went against his plan of the vaccine passports, which is a huge number. And then after pushing that through, he lost a lot of confidence within his party. There have been over 56, I believe, from what I saw last night, that put a letter through of no confidence, and that showed that he's not destined to lead the party anymore. They've lost the confidence in him. I believe it's a big majority government for the Conservative Party anyway, with a lot of members, over 300, I believe, whilst Labour has over 200, or I think just a little bit less. So even though it doesn't sound like much, I think you need over about 15% to sign a letter of no confidence for that to go through. So it's kind of, I think he's going to contest that as well, which I think is very important, because it shows that he's not willing to back down, which is very interesting, to say the least. But what was your second question again, Andrew? Sorry about that. Do you
think this is because of polling and because of turmoil in the party, or do you think that, it's one of those situations where we're going to see these restrictions pulled back only for whatever powers that be to reinforce them in 2 months' time? Do you think this is just a political move?
I think it's political theatre mostly. I think, look, all the scandals coming out about them, having Christmas parties and parties all the way round the year when the restrictions were so high and people couldn't see family members. I mean, personally, I think it's one big distraction now to talk about it, because it's a year later from now, and that's all they want to bring up in the news now. So, but I think, it's political theatre, how I see it. Some moves there from Boris, as you can see. But I think it's majority political theatre. I think he's really losing the vote with his own party. I think his party and him are in a massive part of turmoil at the minute. So I think it's his way of trying to win back these backbenchers. I don't think they could have done this a while ago now, when they found out that Omicron was mild and all the facts and figures around Omicron. They could have done that easily, but clearly he's chosen not to, and he's only doing it now because the polls are not in favour of him, and all of a sudden he could possibly be out the door. So it only speaks sense in my mind that it's an act of desperation, is how I see it.
Matt,
I could be wrong.
Was there anything mentioned about international travel coming in?
As far as I'm aware, I think the only thing that they mentioned as well is a hint on scrapping self-isolation. So if you test positive and you self-isolate, but I think they're looking to either renew it or not renew it in March, but he's hinted on not renewing it. But obviously hinting, what's that to go by? We've seen how governments have worked, not only in England or the UK and Canada as well. A lot of U-turning, a lot of back and forth. So I can't take that. You have to take that with a massive pinch of salt. For travelling, I'm not 100% sure, so I best not make any claims just in case the fact checkers get onto me and start calling me out.
It seems people are so desperate for a sense of normality that a politician can even allude to, hey, maybe things will kind of go back to sort of normal one day. Still trust me, and that might be enough for people.
Well, this is it. It's an act of desperation. That's how I see it anyway. It's an act of desperation.
Oh, hi. That was a clip from our Rebel Daily live stream. It's hosted Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by the big boss man, Ezra Levant, and Tuesdays and Thursdays by me, Sheila Gunn Reid, and my good friend, David Menzies. On the live stream, we talk about the news of the day, we show some videos, and we interact with our viewers at home. We stream at 12 noon Eastern, 10 Mountain. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Super U, and Odyssey.